Miguel was only 10 years old, yet life had already placed heavy burdens on his small shoulders. Each morning, as the streets of Manila filled with the noise of traffic and vendors calling out their goods, he set out barefoot, carrying a worn basket filled with small rice packs. The sun, merciless and hot, pressed down on him as he weaved through the crowds. His feet, hardened from walking on rough pavement, no longer flinched at sharp stones or burning concrete. Every step he took was driven by a single purpose, to earn enough coins to buy food and medicine for his mother, who lay weak at home. She was his world, and though he was still a child, Miguel had taken it upon himself to provide for her. His tiny hands trembled sometimes under the weight of the basket, but his spirit never wavered. Passers-by often glanced at him with pity, but Miguel kept his gaze steady. In his eyes was a quiet determination, a strength far greater than his years. He did not dream of toys or games like other children. His dream was simple yet profound, that his mother could eat a warm meal and smile again without pain. The streets were harsh, filled with indifference, yet Miguel carried within him a spark of hope. It was a hope that made him endure hunger, exhaustion, and loneliness. Beneath the sweat and struggle, his innocence still shone, reminding the world that even in the hardest places, love gives a child courage beyond measure. Miguel had just finished selling a few rice packs when he noticed another boy about his age sitting in the corner of a busy street. The child's clothes were torn, his face streaked with dirt, and his tiny frame shook from hunger. Miguel stopped in his tracks, clutching the last pack of rice in his hands. That single meal was all he had left to bring home to his sick mother, the only food she would eat that night. His heart pounded as he stood there, torn between two impossible choices. He could keep the rice and make sure his mother wouldn't go hungry, or he could ease the suffering of the boy in front of him. Miguel's stomach ached from missing meals, and he knew his mother's condition was fragile, yet something deeper stirred inside him, a voice that whispered about kindness, about compassion, about what it meant to truly give. Slowly, he walked toward the boy, knelt down, and placed the pack of rice into his hands. The hungry child looked up at Miguel with wide, tearful eyes, unable to speak. Miguel forced a small smile and whispered, "You need this more than us." Then he turned away before his own tears could fall, his empty basket swinging lightly at his side. It was a sacrifice no child should ever have to make, yet Miguel carried it with quiet strength, never realizing that this one act of selflessness was about to change his life forever. As Miguel walked away with his empty basket, he thought no one had noticed what he had done. But just a few steps behind him, a traveler stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. The man, a foreigner visiting Manila for the first time, had been struck speechless by the boy's selfless act. In a city where poverty was often overlooked, here was a child who had almost nothing, yet chose to give away the only food he had. Curiosity and compassion pulled the traveler forward. Quietly, he followed Miguel through the bustling streets, weaving past vendors and jeepneys, until the boy stopped in front of a fragile wooden shack at the edge of the neighborhood. The sight broke the man's heart. This was not just a child struggling alone, but a son carrying the weight of caring for his sick mother in a place barely holding itself together. Peeking inside, the traveler saw the frail figure of Miguel's mother lying on a thin mat, coughing softly, her face pale and tired. Miguel knelt beside her, gently adjusting a small cloth on her forehead, speaking to her with a tenderness beyond his years. The traveler's eyes filled with tears. He realized that the boy had given away the only meal meant for his mother without hesitation, choosing kindness for another over comfort for himself. In that moment, the man knew he could not walk away. What Miguel had done was more than a small act of giving, it was a lesson in humanity. The traveler could not shake the image of Miguel's sacrifice from his mind. Later that day, he returned to the small shack, this time carrying heavy bags filled with food, medicine, and clean water. Miguel's eyes widened in disbelief as the man stepped inside, placing the supplies gently on the floor. For a moment, Miguel stood frozen, unsure if it was real. Then he looked at his mother, who struggled to sit up, her frail hands trembling as she reached toward the stranger. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered words of gratitude in a weak, broken voice. The man knelt beside her, assuring her that she would not have to worry anymore, that she could focus on healing, and that Miguel's kindness had touched him in a way he could never forget. He handed Miguel an envelope, explaining that it contained enough money to cover her medical treatment and to support them for the coming months. Miguel clutched it to his chest, overwhelmed by the sudden wave of hope that filled their tiny home. For the first time in a long while, his mother's tired face lit up with a smile, and she pulled her son close. "You saved me," she whispered, holding Miguel tightly. But Miguel, his voice trembling with emotion, shook his head. "No, Mama," he replied softly, "it was kindness that saved us." The traveler watched in silence, his heart heavy with emotion, knowing he had witnessed something far greater than charity, he had witnessed the power of love. That night, Miguel sat beside his mother as she ate her first full meal in days. The little shack, once filled with silence and worry, now felt alive with warmth and hope. For the first time in what felt like forever, laughter echoed softly between them. Miguel's eyes sparkled, not because of the food or the money they had received, but because he realized something profound. His small act of kindness had come back to him in a way he could never have imagined. The traveler prepared to leave, but before stepping out, he placed a hand on Miguel's shoulder and said, "Never lose that heart of yours. The world needs it." Those words stayed with Miguel, etched deeper than any gift. He hugged his mother tightly, whispering a promise to always choose kindness, no matter how hard life became. As the night sky stretched over Manila, Miguel lay awake, thinking of the hungry boy he had helped earlier. Somewhere, he hoped that child was smiling too. His sacrifice had multiplied into something far greater, a ripple of compassion that touched more lives than he realized. In the quiet glow of their small home, Miguel understood the truth: wealth wasn't measured in coins or possessions, but in the love you give when you have almost nothing. His story was proof that even the smallest act of generosity can create miracles. And as his mother drifted into peaceful sleep, Miguel whispered to himself, "Kindness is the most powerful gift of all."